Okay, welcome back, guys, to our next episode of Follow Her Lead. I have my favorite person on here once again with me. So, we want to just dive a little bit deeper, really bring some things out that I think a lot of female entrepreneurs, business leaders, people that are just want to be leaders in their own life might be struggling with. And I love having Erica here with me to bounce some of these things off of as a fellow leader.
All right, so let's talk about imposter syndrome because especially females, and I think that this really is a issue only for females because it's an interesting stat I saw recently where it was like a man would have like one of the five qualifications for a job and still interview for it with full confidence, but a woman, if they're even missing one thing from like the whole laundry list, they won't even apply. And it's because we have this imposter syndrome where we're like, we're not good enough, we have to be perfect at something before. And like, no offense to men anywhere, but they don't have that issue. Like, they just are able to get past it and just be like, no, I would be great at this, and like go forward. So especially for female leaders, it's something it gets in my way all the time. I'm always doubting
Sure.
myself and like think I need to do better. Okay, so as a CEO who's very out there, and I would say that you have a pretty big reputation, and you are out like public facing, you were the face of the brand for a really long time.
Yes.
How do you get over imposter syndrome? And
Yeah.
how do you also just like deal with the fact that like people are probably like anytime you post anything on social, there's going to be people who are like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, did you see what she posted now? Like, how do you get over that fear, I guess?
Yeah, I think, God, that's like the $1,000,000 question, right? Because I think the biggest thing of imposter syndrome and like trying to get over that fear is realizing that it's probably always going to be there. So, like the ability to just lessen that fear, like have some tools and tactics that like help you get out of that. Like imposter syndrome is something I've struggled with from day one and still struggle with. I have imposter syndrome just sitting down to do a podcast. Like, who wants to listen to me? You have that thing that just goes on in your brain and sometimes you just can't turn it off, but it's just again, it's about repetitions and like going through the process. One of the biggest things that learned in business, I didn't have this crazy out there personality. I wasn't like this super confident person who would just like jump on a video and start doing it, but I realized along the way that sometimes we think we have to have this confidence to step into a room, right? Or step into an interview and you've got to have this crazy confidence and know that you're going to kill it. But sometimes it's just that courage, just to have the courage to just do it is that big of a deal, is much bigger deal. And you're going to build the confidence bone along the way. So I think it's just about lessening the imposter syndrome and not necessarily getting rid of it because we're always trying new things, right? The podcast's a new thing. The way that you do it is a new thing. So when you try something new, you're going to have a little bit of that imposter syndrome, but just working through your mindset and working into making sure that you're always because imposter syndrome is really just fear, right? Like it's just fear of being seen, right? We all have the same basic human needs, where the need to be loved, the need to be seen, the need to be heard, just for like who we are. So we always think that we're not showing up as that, or someone might judge us, or anything. So it's just getting out of that mindset of like what others think, and really truly being yourself. The biggest thing that I question myself in imposter syndrome is when I speak, right? So, like through podcasting, through on stage, I still get nervous. I still get that like dry feeling in my throat. I start shaking, like my legs start shaking, like before I get on stage, and people are like, "You did great," and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "I did not do great. I can do better." But it's just again having the repetitions and going through it. But it's ultimately just having the courage to just do it. Like you've got to just do something. If I look back at my old videos, like if you were just talking about it in another podcast, like they were so bad. But I can look back at them and laugh now because I wasn't being myself because I was so nervous and the imposter syndrome was like obviously there. But you know what? I freaking did it. Like
You did
I
do
put
it.
them out
You
there.
got better too,
I got
way
way
better.
better. My eyebrows got better.
You got
my
into
my hair
season 2,
color
baby.
my hair color got better, all of those things. But I think if you just can learn how to just give yourself grace, because really imposter syndrome too, and we talk about women, we have that perfectionism bone. So it's like you want everything perfect. And I used to over plan everything and like write out my scripts and write out things I want to say and like have ton of notes when I'm doing Zoom calls. And now it's just like when you start to really like believe in yourself and it like that imposter syndrome really starts lessening, the words like just start coming and they start flowing from your heart. So I think it's just again realizing that the confidence is going to come with the practice along the way too.
Do you have any tips for, like, in the moment, though, like, right before you're about to walk on a stage, especially, like, a bigger crowd than you've ever seen?
Yeah.
What are you telling yourself right before you walk in? Because there's gotta be something that you're, like, grounding
Yeah.
yourself in.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like you have to like celebrate the successes like before like it even happens. It's like, man, I'm like here. Like people, look at all these people here. They're gonna like hear me. They're gonna listen to me. But like the biggest thing when I speak on stage, I always make eye contact with at least two or three people that are like, and Erica's always been like my front row fan. I'm like, as long as I have like two or three people that even if I have to tell them before, I'm like, can you please look at me and nod and like be into what I'm saying? Cause it'll give me that encouragement to like keep going. But I always make eye contact with at least two or three people that I feel are like engaged. Cause you're not gonna have you have also have to remember if you're speaking to a big audience or your podcast is going out there to a million different people, you really only have to impact one person from the words that you're saying. So really it's just like lessening the pressure on yourself too. It's like, God, if I can just have one person nod at me, like that's my goal. If I can just have one person nod at me when I'm speaking, I know that I impacted at least one person.
I used to do the opposite of that, and I would find, like, the one person who looked so bored or, like, hated whatever I was saying and, like, didn't laugh at a single one of my jokes, and I would hyper focus on them the whole time, be like, "Why do you hate me?
Yeah.
Am I that dumb? Like, you just hate me so much?" And I did have to, like, flip that to, like, find like, there's gonna be and, like, the thing is, I would always actively talk to them after the class, and half the time, they'd be like, "That was so great," and I was like, "You were on your phone the whole time.
Yeah.
You gave me the iciest look, like, I thought you hated me," and then they, like, ask for your, like, Instagram handle after, and that was, like, a big moment for me too, was, half these people are just, like, not paying attention, and they're,
Yeah.
like, half listening, but, like, they don't care that much,
Yeah.
of, like, not building up in your head, like, all the people are sitting there judging you because 'cause they're just, like,
Yeah.
enjoying their day, and they came to see you speak,
Yeah.
but, like, engaging with one person and, like, finding one person that, like, really is buying what you're saying
A
and
hundred
laughing at
percent.
your jokes and connecting with you makes you, like, so much more in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. And just remember, like, when we're speaking or talking or again podcasting, you're impacting if you impact one person, like they're gonna share it. Like we really truly think that our impact has to be like worldwide, when we
Mhm.
go on stage. Like everybody has to love what I'm saying and love what I'm doing. And how can they not? But if you can just impact one person, like that person is in turn going to share it with another person. So just think about how that compound effect works. So you really only truly have to just give that one little nugget that somebody can walk away with and share with their family or share with their friends. And that truly makes that worthwhile.
Yeah, I love that because it's like when people talk about, especially social media and views and clicks and all the things, is that it might seem like underwhelming that 10 people liked your video, but if like 10 people walked into your business at one time, you'd feel like
Yeah.
so stressed. And when did we start thinking that like it has to be this big thing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm really glad that especially Instagram seems like they're really changing up how they're doing it with like not wanting people to be influencers and like not caring about anything other than your engagement rate.
Yeah.
It's such a good, like, refreshing take because we no longer like, let's stop caring if this podcast gets 5,000 views. Let's care about like the 3 views where they like reach out to us and are like, "Hey,
Exactly.
I'm trying to launch this. Will you help me walk through this?" Or like, "I would love a resource on blah, blah, blah." Like,
Yeah.
if we just reach one or two people, it's worth I'm telling you this so that you stop asking me if things are landing or not. I'm not looking at the
Like what
analytics.
are our analytics? How many
None.
followers do we have? Who's
0.
liking that? No, and I think that too, that's really important to remember is like, in business, like we obviously have to, what you can't measure, you can't, what does Tony say? Like what you can't measure, you can't, I don't know, whatever it is.
Create? I
Yeah.
don't know.
But marketing is so hard.
Oh,
Your
yes.
brand is so hard to measure. So like if you're really like truly just looking at analytics and looking at your likes and looking at how many people commented to see if you've impacted, how many people I've met that are like, "Oh my god, I love your social media. I love the posts that you put out. They're always so positive. Like really helped me one day." And then like you think in your head, you're like, "I don't even think they ever like my stuff."
Yes,
You
that
know?
that
Like, I was like, I
reel.
really like, I don't even think anybody's ever liked it.
Have you seen that reel where it's like, "Oh, you loved all my you didn't like any of them. How come you look at this one on my family, you didn't like it." And they're like,
But
"Well,
we
I
put
liked it. I
yeah.
just didn't like it." And you're like, "No, no,
We
you
put
have to."
so much pressure
Yes.
on people having to, like, press the like button, but just remembering, like, there's somebody out there that liked it, but didn't physically like it, right? They saw it. So I meet people all the time and think, "Oh, like, are we even friends? I've never seen you, like anything." But
What's your handle?
yeah, I'm glad that said that to me because it does mean, I do it too. I scroll through social media so fast and I'll see something, I'm like, "I like it," and I don't click like. So I think we just put less pressure on ourselves of that exterior, idea of having to have this certain number of likes, a certain number of analytics, and understanding that things can organically grow. When you talk about going viral, right? Like most of the things that go viral are like just like funny, random things. And a lot of stuff is people making fun of themselves, which is another way to really get over imposter syndrome. Another really good tool is like, if you're speaking or anything, teaching a Zoom is just like crack a joke on yourself. Like, just don't take it so serious. And just talk about your failures because if you can talk about your failures, it makes you more human. And then people will really start to relate to you because a lot of imposter syndrome is about credibility. You want to be the most important person when you're speaking about something, but you also need to let people know that, hey, I'm still learning too. But I want to share what I have. And there's probably going to be somebody that's listening that has way more insight than I do, but I'm just going to be okay with that, and just understanding that credibility too can just be from sharing your failures and saying, hey, this is where I'm still falling short too.
All right, I've got a good question for you, but it's gonna put you on the spot, so sorry in advance.
Okay. Oh boy.
All right, I want you to think back. What is like your biggest imposter syndrome moment? Like, what is a moment that you really were like, I don't know, like just more so like, oh my God, what am I doing? Or like, how did you like fake it out of a, not fake it, but like, how did you get past it? Like, did you ever have a moment where you're just like mid speech or something? You're like, what am I even saying? Like,
Yeah. Oh God. There's probably so many of those. What's funny is I think because I love my team so much and like my like ultimate goal is like in business is if I can just make better people on my team, they're like better people in their personal lives, they accomplish goals. And I think I put so much like emphasis on that when I speak in front of my team is when I feel the biggest imposter syndrome. So like I can think of our first summit, like when I like even it was we do this summit where we have, the whole company come together for one like full day of learning and we put on, a big show and we did it at a hotel. And I just remember that morning and like getting on stage and I completely blanked out. I had planned a whole speech. I have no idea what I said. And I'm pretty sure like I had like a 15-minute block to like kick it off and I did it in like 2 minutes. And
I
I was
wasn't
just,
there for the record. I didn't
yeah,
work.
she wasn't there.
It was on my maternity leave,
But
so I have no idea.
I think that's always my biggest imposter syndrome moment. Like even when I teach like a monthly like manifestation class, I'm like that imposter syndrome starts creeping in because they're so important to me and their opinions really matter. So that's when, I really get that imposter syndrome the most.
It's so funny because this like, you make me run the team call all the time,
Yeah.
and we teach class like, I teach classes all the time, Zoom classes, you name it, like, I'm always talking in front of people. We just did, like, MBA not too long ago, and, like, we did some stuff on Space Coast where the whole, like, association came, so it was, like, a huge room of, like, 100 people, and I'm on the Zoom call, and I can only see, like, 4 squares, and I just sweat it out it's, like, the most uncomfortable thing,
Isn't it? I know.
and I don't know why, but I think it's the same thing of, like, I care so much about it, and I want the team to see me as, like,
Hmm.
this great leader and like be excited that they work with me. And then I'm just sitting there like cracking dumb jokes and I just like can't like
Yeah.
I can't and I like stumble through it. I'm like, Ariana Lennox and I'm talking so fast, like sweating. I'm like, can we get this off of me?
Well, and Zoom is so hard because
It
you can't
is.
like feel like you're not engaging with people, and then you see like the little squares, and
And the
you're like,
person looks
somebody laugh
so
at me.
bored
Yeah.
and they're just staring at you and you're like, what's a duck say to the and you're laughing and you're like, ha, and they're just staring at you like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm
yeah.
like, they're definitely done hearing me talk at this point, but,
No,
no, that is
you should still run them.
no,
Don't have me
you
run
did a
them.
great job.
And no, I don't like
You
doing
did a
it.
great job.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
But no, that's 100%, a moment that and I feel like I still get that way sometimes where I, like, overplan what I wanna say to the team, And if I'm really getting better at speaking from my heart,
Mhm.
because when I do, like, it will really, I had to deliver like a really good speech. Like last year, like we had um a team call, and I just, I was like, screw it. I had planned this whole thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna talk, and if I can get in my head like that and really be like, okay, Amanda, you know what you're saying. Like, just speak from your heart, let it flow. And I remember like three or four like important words or points that I want to say, and that's all I'm repeating in my head. I get through things a lot
Mhm.
faster.
Yeah, you used to have to be really scripted, and
Yeah.
now I've learned, like, even for this, we didn't even prepare like,
No,
any
I
kind of
have
thing
no
before we
idea.
started. I was like, "I've got an idea in my head, just roll, press record."
Yeah. She
Um
even borrowed my sweater. So
Yeah. Hey, you said I could have this. It looks really cute. I don't think this is the vibe for you. It's definitely for me, so it's mine now. It's fine. I will get her a cute new sweater that's neutral and
yeah, it
not
definitely
pink.
wasn't my vibe.
It's fine. I'm definitely the pink of us.
Yeah.
That's what I do to Amanda. I come to her house and I'm like, "Wow, all this is so nice. I'll be taking this."
Yeah, she's like, "You never wear pink. I'm taking
Yeah, I'm
this."
like, this vase doesn't look like it's your personality. I'm gonna take that
Yeah.
too up there. It's really cute. It would look really good in my house. No, but oh man, what was I gonna say? I had such a good important thing to
You
say. And you
said how I used to have to be so
Oh,
scripted.
yeah, I think that 5 years ago, realistically, me and you could not sit here and do this. We
No.
both would have been, like, robotic and been like, so
Like, shut down.
what?" Yeah, and I love for us that we
Yeah.
really can just sit there.
Yeah.
Confidence is such a big you just have to grow.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen a huge change in my confidence the last, like, year and a half being back. I think I came back with more confidence, after being gone for a while for babies and whatnot, and, like, I definitely didn't have my footing, but I feel like since the start of this year, I have a totally different
Yeah.
confidence because I feel like I did a successful year
Yeah.
and ended the goals where I wanted to. And so I think that I can feel that in myself, like feeling a little bit less of that imposter syndrome with stuff that's like rinse and repeat we've done a million times. But I
100%.
still get nervous on, like, if we're going to speak live in front of people and there's like 100 people in the room, I'm like sweating the whole time. Like, why
Yeah.
did I do this?
Yeah.
But the reward definitely makes
The
it.
reward is amazing. And I think, just going back to confidence, I, again, have never been the most confident person. I always, if you listen to other podcasts and stuff, I talk about how shy I was in school. Like, I never thought I was starting a business so that I could go speak in front of a bunch of realtors or speak on stage. That was never my goal. I kind of had to got pushed into it. It was like, okay, if I'm going to be successful, I just have to do it. So again, it's just having that courage to go do it. And even if you completely fail, guess what? People are going to remember you, even if you completely like stumbled over your words. But I think just remembering that confidence is, I think the word is like overused a lot of what confidence really is. And sometimes we think of confidence being this like loud person, like the loudest person in the room, the person with the biggest opinions, right? They have so much confidence. But I think there's a beauty in the quiet confidence. And
Mhm.
I've talked about that on another podcast before is I think that's something that you have, something that I have is like, okay, we can be great listeners. We can listen, we can tune in, very self aware. And to me, that's the most beautiful kind of confidence is like, okay, I can listen to a conversation. I know when to speak, when to not speak. I know my self awareness around what's happening. I know when I can add good value into what people are saying, and having that quiet confidence and knowing that you don't just have to speak to feel important or for people to look like you're important, right? We talk about this like new old money era. Like,
Mhm.
I love it because, like, those women have that quiet confidence, where they can just like walk into a room and own the room without saying a word.
I've actually never thought that the loudest person in the room is confident.
Yeah.
Whenever someone's like, "Wah, wah, wah," just like screaming their opinion or like has to like make that joke or has to make you feel like
Yeah.
2 feet tall while you're talking, like, actually, they
Yeah.
updated the
Well,
blah, blah,
I
blah. And it's
guess I
not
should
like,
say not the loudest person, but like the person
yeah.
with the like biggest presence where they're
Mhm.
like speaking loudly. Cause like, I'm not like knocking all the coaches and everything out there today, but they're all like, these jack guys with like these deep voices, and you're like, Jesus, like when I
Where's the number?
and I'm like, okay,
Poof.
yes, sir.
Break that lamp. That's what we're gonna do.
But just like remember that you can have your own kind of confidence and
Yes.
you don't have to compare yourself to these people that are like speaking on big stages and they talk different, they walk different than you do, is just understanding, just be your authentic self. And that confidence, you can feel yourself when you get into confidence, because you're like in a flow. You're like, okay, this is going good. Like I feel this, I'm good. And
Mhm.
that's just remembering like that is confidence in itself.
Mhm. And also, like, the baby steps of it. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to try to rush to get onto a stage to feel like you are a good leader or, like, if you're starting out and you're new in business, even just, like, that first Zoom call with your whole team might be terrifying.
Yeah.
The first time you have to give a motivational speech to everybody to keep them going, the first time you have, like, a downturn in the market and it's scary,
Hmm.
those are confidence builders right there,
Oh,
like,
for
having to
sure.
go and give bad news. Anybody can give good news. Anybody
Yeah.
can, like, rave and celebrate and dance with the team, but when you have to be the one who's given bad news,
Yeah.
now that's a confidence builder.
For sure, 100%. And then how you handle those situations, again, how you handle those failures and work through them. We've all made it through 100% of our worst days. So just remembering that too, and understanding that, you're put in a leadership position for a reason, and leadership is all it is influence. A lot of people look at leadership as push, and like pushing people, but when you are influencing people, you have to speak from your heart. You have to really truly, we always talk about this servant leadership, which is really truly what I want to embody. And it's just, how can I just show up and bring more value to people every single day, and not necessarily this dictator type leadership, which sometimes like confidence can be, equated to, where it's like they know the right answer. Like, understanding that I don't always have the right answers either, and being super vulnerable about that.
That is so powerful. I think for me, that was something that I had to really learn through having a team because for so long I was like a one man show in my previous position. And then also like here when we
Mhm.
didn't have a marketing team and really learning to rely on a team and also like trusting, like, I got some Gen Zers on my team and
Yeah.
like the young kids know what they're doing when it comes to trends.
Yeah.
And I love content. I love like knowing what to do and and like sometimes I have to just step back and be like, yo, tell me what's cool.
Yeah.
Mhm, to tell me. And we just recently, like, restructured our social and what we're doing with, like, Funfetti Friday, and we used to do the same thing every single time, and they were like, "Listen, our stuff is kinda mid."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay."
They're like, "We need that Riz going
Yeah,
on."
I was like, "Razzle dazzle?" They're like, that's not it." I was like, "All right, bet, I can listen."
Yeah.
So, we tried something new and it went semi-viral. I'm very proud of it. It was like
Okay.
4,000 views on a title insurance Instagram, okay? That's a big
That
deal.
is actually a really
It
big deal.
hit
I think
real
that's
hard.
more than the followers that we have right now. About the
Yeah,
same?
no, we're getting
Okay,
close.
we're getting close.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
All right.
actually were only 195 away from
See,
4,000. We're
we're
gonna have a
cranking it.
party.
See, I don't pressure you about numbers.
No, I
I don't
pressure
even know.
myself.
I know.
We're gonna have a party as a thing. I'm gonna bring like a ice cream in for the girls or something.
For
I don't
like
know.
the
Gonna find
5K
something
party.
no 4Ks.
4K.
Don't.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, like trusting that like, oh, I connected with these people. I hired them both and there was something in them that I saw. So like kind of taking back what you did with me of like I recognize something in you, you don't see it yet, but I
Yeah.
see it and I know it's there. With them and then giving them the power of like, I trust you. You tell me what's cool. I'm
Right.
not cool anymore. I'm in my 30s. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's cool. I don't even have TikTok. I don't want a TikTok.
Yeah.
You get a TikTok. You tell
Well, and
me what to do.
that's the say what I was just saying about getting out of imposter syndrome too, is like understanding that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
So like realizing when you need to push somebody else forward to show them like, hey, you are the expert at this. I'm not the
Yep.
expert, right? Like I'm the visionary. Like I can cast the vision as the CEO, but I'm not necessarily the smartest person in the room. That's not why I'm in the position that I'm in. So it's understanding that too, is realizing that part of imposter syndrome is just knowing that you just don't have all the answers, and admitting that you don't.
Okay. You just a great point that you just made. So we talked in a previous episode about like attracting the right people. And like if you're in it on your own, you're gonna eventually find people that you're gonna find that you connect with that you're gonna put in positions that are gonna grow it faster than you can because
Oh
they're
yeah.
gonna be what would you say, like what's your biggest tip for people who don't have a team yet, but know that they're ready to level up and get a team? Like how do you trust somebody with your baby? Because when you
Yeah.
started hiring the first couple of people, like even me, I was your first
Terrifying.
person in like
Yeah.
a marketing or sales role, and I I knew you were like, you just totally guessed on the salary. You just like looked at me to see if
No,
it was going to
I
be okay. And
was
I was
like,
just
"What do
like,
you think?"
you were like, can you tell me? And I remember like it was terrible. You were like checking up on me like a random stuff because
Yeah.
you like were so afraid that like, not so afraid, but like, cause you have an abundant mindset, you always have, but like, nervous of like what does this role even look like. So
Mhm.
when someone's ready to hire employee number 2, or them as a first, so like second, third, fourth people, like what are you looking for? What's the most important thing?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it
And how do
goes
you trust people?
yeah. Well, that's again, another $1,000,000 question, right? That was several layers deep and probably several hour conversation, but,
We got
um,
time.
yeah, I think that the biggest thing is, well, when you get to a point in your business where you, again, realize that you can't be a one-man show if you wanna grow. You just
I
can't
love
be
that.
yeah, I mean, you
I'm gonna
can't.
hashtag put that on the feed.
You're like, "That's why I need more people."
Thanks. I would like
You
to hire
remember
4
you
more.
said that on the podcast?
I do need to hire like 4 more people, but it's fine. We'll
Yeah,
talk
okay,
later.
we'll talk later,
If you're interested, just DM me. Okay.
no, it's just remembering that, you're always gonna be able to find people that can do something better than you. They don't necessarily work at the same pace as you, which is, like, one of the most important things, but, it's just, I always go after personality. For me, it's just more about the vibe. I'm not looking, at your resume and what your GPA was in college. I mean, I'm looking at your resume, but I'm not looking at,
Don't get crazy.
not, like, specific, right? Let's be honest, a lot of people have lied on their resumes. We gotta do a lot of checking,
I didn't
but
go to Harvard. Sorry.
but also just remembering that it's more about just personality. So it's pinpointing. Like I think you can. I always say too, you can't teach those soft skills of just being a good person, being a connector. Like you feel a vibe. I'm a vibe person. Like when I meet somebody, I know whether or not it's gonna work out, and I'm pretty been about 90% accurate over
You
the
are very
last
accurate at that,
yeah, over
unfortunately.
the last 8 years, I'm like, "Oh, I don't think that one's gonna work."
Yeah.
And yeah,
You're always right.
it gets proven right. So I think that's just something that I innately have, but I just follow my gut on it when it comes to people. So just knowing that and just understanding we can teach the technical stuff. So like knowing that, they don't have to have this crazy resume of, been in sales for like 45 years and knows everybody and gonna bring all this book of business. Like those always end up like
Not.
not panning out, not always. I shouldn't overgeneralize, but majority of the time don't end up panning out very well. So it's just understanding to go with the vibe, know that look for something in that person that they have that you don't necessarily have that they're better at than you are. For me, it was definitely like with sales, right? Finding somebody who is willing to go out there and like door knock and like show up at offices, which is something I was like always terrified of doing and didn't necessarily have or want the time to do. And so just somebody who has that, and then you can teach them the technical stuff, right? There's not a lot of people we can hire off the street that are like, I love title insurance. I want to work in that industry. It's just so great. So it's finding the right personalities and, just seeing in them something that you can grow and develop, as a leader and knowing that they're going to be better at it than you are and at the end of the day.
You know what I learned from you too, is hire moms.
Yeah, I
And it
know.
was so like there was a while there, because I was just getting engaged when you brought me on, and
Yeah.
so I'd been a single mom forever. And there was a point where like I feel like every single person that was on was like a single mom,
Yeah.
or like a mom in general. And you really leaned in and you were like, listen, nobody can do anything better than a mom. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but moms just
It's
like moms have a superpower. There's 70,000 hours in the day for us. We
yeah,
are like in it every single day from sun up to sundown, and we have the like I think that that builds that like
it does.
that it's like a superpower. And for so long, it's like that or like not what word am I looking for? Like the stamina, because we
Yeah,
did like
it's just a
overnights
different
and all the
grit.
things.
Like you got a different grit as a mom or a
Yeah,
single mom, and not saying that we don't not
we
hire
have
moms,
men and we have
but
non-moms,
yeah, we have
but
non moms. But I think it's all about law of attraction too, right? It's like that's just who we were attracting at the time because it's like okay,
village
we
of
need
moms.
grinders. Like
Yeah.
we need somebody who's just going to go all in and grind it out and be that A player employee that's just going to show up 100% because the biggest thing is they're attached to their why and their why is their children and they know that they have to show up every single day and be 110% in order to create a better lives for their kids.
All right, you know why I love that so much is because for so long business has just like, if you are a mom, it's like, no, no, you're gonna have sick days and you're gonna have
Mhm.
kids that are sick, and I don't
I'm
want
this
you to have.
complete
And
opposite.
it is so refreshing to have like a successful CEO who's like, hire moms, say
Yeah,
it louder for the people in the back, hire moms. There was like this mom working group. They're like Mom Inc. or something. I don't remember what it's called. I'll find it and tell you what it is in
yeah,
the next episode. But it's a whole networking group, and they like did this movement. They're like, put mom on your resume because being a mom is a full-time job
it
and there's
is.
nothing else in the world like it. And it's so refreshing to hear someone who is a CEO who is in charge of hiring, what, 65, 70?
Yeah,
I don't know how many people we have employed, but that's a lot.
a
And
lot.
a lot of offices who like believes in hiring moms and sees it as a superpower. And I really hope if that's one thing. So